Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with I Trek. Big shout out to everybody that is enjoying the last couple months of this year, man. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourself. Per usual, I have a handful of interesting and creepy videos for us to go ahead and evaluate for ourselves whether these are fact or fake. So make sure to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Let's just jump straight into it.
Tonight, a serious plane warning. Airbus and aviation officials worldwide ordering immediate repairs to its widely used A320 family of jets after discovering a software issue affecting critical flight systems. That means thousands of planes could be grounded until the software can be updated. Airbus acknowledging that the issue will lead to operational disruptions to passengers and customers. It comes after an October incident on a JetBlue flight from Cancun to Newark. The plane packed with passengers making an emergency landing after a flight control problem causing a sudden drop in altitude, injuring more than a dozen on board. These planes can't fly until they are fixed, and aviation experts believe it could be resolved in a matter of days. Once those updates are made, the planes should be good to fly.
I guess the good thing is that they caught that problem early, because imagine they just start reporting a bunch of planes just falling out of the sky, and then later on they figure out that there's an issue with the digital mechanics. Good catch.
Your study shows you're not technically an adult until you hit the age of 32. So researchers mapped out the brain's development and found out that humans go through 5 different brain phases. The first phase is childhood, which starts from being born to the age of 9. The second phase is adolescence, which goes from 9 all the way up to 32. Then there's adulthood from 32 to 66, early aging from 66 to 83, and finally late aging when you're 83 and onwards. Which stage are you at?
You know what, that makes so much sense, because a lot of the times, a lot of us have run into people and the first thing we think of is, man, that person acts like a child. And now we know they literally are.
Life is a game you can't win.
Yeah, I don't think there's any winning. You die. That's the only truth. Every story, starts the same. You were born. Every Wikipedia page starts the same. They were born. And every Wikipedia page will end exactly the same. They died. That's it. Everything that happens in between is your life. But those are the only 2 inevitabilities. Those are the only 2 real things for certain. So I look at it as it's a game you can't win, meaning if you pursue money, your money will eventually be useless. The things you accumulate with it will be useless. Every car you own, someone else will either own it someday or it'll get to the scrap junkyard someday, or you'll give it to somebody. It's all your material possessions will be utterly meaningless. We all went through this when the COVID lockdowns first started. Everybody was like, I've got all this money and I've got all these travel vouchers, and they're like, yeah, you can't go anywhere now. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what do you started to see the limitations of things. Have the power go out in your house sometime. And it'll remind you that oh, wait, yeah, everything I have, I just have this much of a grip on it. All you got to do is just take that away and it's gone, and that's it.
Hey, now he wasn't lying. That is a very sobering reality. At the same time, enjoy every bit of your life, man, every single day until the end.
Did you know this was made on a typewriter? Yes, a typewriter. James Cook creates these hyper-realistic art pieces using nothing but letters and punctuation marks from a typewriter, with his pieces taking anywhere from a week to 2 months to finish. The longer ones being multiple pieces of paper stitched together. What I love about his work is that when you look up close, you're able to see the individual characters he uses to make individual piece, like a bike, Robert Pattinson's face, or even the Flatiron Building. And you never know they were made out of letters unless you looked up close, which I think is part of the beauty of his handcrafted work. It's also incredible how he's able to use different characters to create different textures within the image, like a gradient in the sky, or lines that form the Tower of Pisa, or even creating bigger letters out of letters. Most of the time I'm left looking at his work thinking, how did he even do that? One of his favorite things to do is embed little messages into his pieces. And with his work being already made out of letters, these messages are seemingly hidden within the frame. I highly recommend checking out the rest of his work. The sounds of the typewriter, along with the sheer amount of work he's able to produce, is just amazing.
80% of Navy SEALs are clinical psychopaths, but they save the world. Majority of firefighters are high on psychopathy. But when you meet them, you might perceive them like something's off in these people. You got to train your intuition, because sometimes the people you trust are just high oxytocin socialized. Men who have low oxytocin are perceived as more fake, false, and dishonest. They're just aggressive people, but that can be good.
Did you know that Prince had this belief that the elevator was the devil, and he actually was found dead in an elevator from an apparent prescription overdose? He fought for the rights of his own music and won, only to die almost 2 years to the day later.
An eerie story about his friend.
The one thing that, kind of spoke to me about it all was, here's a song called Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
And it says, don't let the elevator bring us down. One time when I was with him privately, he said, you know what the elevator is, right? I said, no, what's the elevator? He said, well, the elevator is the devil. Right? It scared me. I don't like to talk like that, but he said that. And so for me, it was like really haunting when I read that he was found in an elevator.
No more elevators for me.
There's a theory if an elevator ever stops on a floor you didn't choose, do not step out. People say those floors don't exist in this reality. There's a phenomenon happening in elevators all over the world, and people online call it the skipped floor encounter. And once it happens to you, you'll never feel safe riding alone again. It starts simple. You press a button, the doors close, the elevator moves normally. But somewhere between two real floors, it stops. Not on a floor anyone selected, and not on a labeled floor. It just stops. One man in Toronto said the elevator opened to a long hallway with flickering lights. No signs, no room numbers, just a carpet that stretched forever. He yelled to see if anyone was there and heard someone yell back, but it wasn't an echo. The voice came from behind him, inside the elevator. A college student in Chicago reported the same thing. She hit the 5th floor, the elevator opened on what looked like the basement. Cracked concrete, rusty pipes, a single light swinging back and forth. But here's the part that terrified her. Her building doesn't have a basement. When she stepped back inside and hit closed door, the elevator refused to move for 30 full seconds, like something was deciding to let her leave. The leading theory as to why this occurs is elevators occasionally stop between realities, floors that exist only in the blueprint of the universe, not in the physical building. But the darkest theory? Those floors are occupied not by people, not by ghosts, by something watching for the moment someone steps out and gets lost. So if an elevator ever stops on a floor you didn't choose, stay inside. Some floors aren't meant for you. Stay weird.
I kind of think everybody has it in the back of their mind that any elevator that they get on could end up being the last one. But that last clip definitely didn't bring any kind of comfort, man.
People who think critically ask questions constantly ask questions. That's one of the primary symptoms of critical thinkers is you're looking around and you're asking questions about the nature of reality, about what you see, what's going on. And that is not something that's to be encouraged in an authoritarian or oligarchic or autocratic system, which is what we're seeing that our own civilization is devolving into. You can see it pretty much clearly on a decadal basis, also on a yearly basis. You can just see it happening if you're paying attention and if you're not being distracted by make-believe crises.
Now, if you don't take anything from iTrack, take one thing. If somebody ever suggests that you don't question anything, give them a strong side eye, like a strong one.
People die on time. What does this mean? There's something called a life contract and a death contract. Your life contract is a contract between you and the Most High. It's the contract and the terms you agree on of what your duties are going to be when you come down here and you live your life. What your obligations are going to be, the lessons you want to learn, the impacts you want to leave, and so on and so forth, and how you want to live your life, right? Your death contract is the date and time and how you're supposed to die. Until that point, you won't die. It doesn't matter what happens. Everything that does happen to you will just be a situation where you lived and you learned, but you'll never die until that time comes. You could, for example, you could try to cross the street and purposely get hit by a car over and over again. You will never die. You can get missed. They can hit you. You'll live every time because it's not your time. You will only die when you meet that date and time for your death contract. Do not forget this, people. Have a good night. Peace.
These are actors who died on set. So Brandon Lee died during the filming of The Crow in 1993 when a prop gun malfunctioned, striking him fatally. Similarly, John Eric Hexum died on set of The Cover-Up after accidentally shooting himself with a blank prop gun while joking between takes. Vic Morrow died during a helicopter stunt that crashed alongside two child actors, while Bruce Lee's stunt double, a Malaysian actor named Jayan, died during the 1980 filming of the movie Kalilakum while performing a helicopter stunt that ended up crashing as well. Owen Hart died during a WWF Over the Edge event when a quick-release harness malfunctioned during a rafter entrance, causing him to plummet plummet 70 feet to his death, while Steve Irwin tragically passed after being stung by a stingray while filming for Ocean's Deadliest. Red Fox passed away from a heart attack during rehearsal for The Royal Family, and the cast thought he was actually initially joking because of his comedic style. And finally, Martha Mansfield was an actress who tragically died in a fire on the set of the movie The Warrens of Virginia in 1924. So rest in peace.
There goes a bit more evidence of when it's your time, it's your time.
Solomon's temple. There's a story within the Talmud, and it talks about Solomon used this ancient technology to build a temple called the Shamir. This is weird. Preface, the Talmud is not recognized within Christianity, historians do. But this Shamir, some speculate it's a worm. It is this green ray, a living creature whose gaze carves rock.
Whoa!
The Talmud talks about the story that God basically told Solomon, you're not allowed to use iron tools on the temple because these iron tools are also used in warfare.
Yeah.
This is Talmud, not the scripture. And then he was told the Shamir was given to Ashmadiah, the king of demons.
Medea?
Tyler Perry?
Or Ashmadiah, I think. Solomon's best warriors forced him to say where the Shamir is.
Wow.
And that's when they used the Shamir to build the temple.
Seems worse than iron.
And this is where it gets crazy. They believe that the Shamir was created before Adam and Eve.
So it was a tool being used by these demonic creatures.
Yeah, and
Got
we've
it.
talked about before all these ancient ruins, like in Peru and stuff. These rocks fit perfectly. Nothing could contain this Shamir except a lead box because it's the only thing that can contain radioactive material.
Weird.
And then after the temple was built, somehow the Shamir just disappeared.
Well, it's still out there.
And even all the other beautiful structures throughout the world that they wonder how it happened. That would make a lot more sense.
They say that people can actually read this, but to me, all I see is if you, and the rest is just gobbledygook. How do you read this sentence?
From what I read, it said, if you can read this, then you have serious mental issues. Let me know what you got. That's what I got.
Well, let me tell you what's going to happen on December 19th. There is such a geomatic storm going to happen between the sun solar flares and the weather machines that are going on, and we are going to have a deep freeze across America. For 7 days and 7 nights, we're going to have snow bigger than flakes the size of your hand. People are just going to freak out and probably will lose about 50% of the population. Most people are not going to have to survive because they're going to freeze to death, and the other half are pretty much going to turn on each other. So if you wanted a civil war, what an easy way to come about. This is going to happen 7 days, so 7 days from the 19th is Christmas.
Did you know that there's a lab in Switzerland that's currently working on creating the most expensive material in the universe? It's not gold, it's not diamonds, it's not even oil, but it's something called antimatter. To put it in perspective, 1 gram of this stuff costs $62 trillion. And the reason that it's so expensive is because it can be used as an infinite energy source, but can also cause catastrophic events like destroying the entire world if it comes into contact with any other materials. Currently, the lab in Switzerland is producing 10 million antiprotons per minute, which might sound like a lot, but at that rate, it would take 100 billion years just to make 1 gram of this stuff.
All right, let me give you the latest on Christian news and what is happening in the world today. China just signed a $37 million deal to deploy industrial-grade humanoid robots at real border crossings. And these aren't just demo robots. These are the Walker S2 humanoids. They are built for 24/7 operation with automatic battery swapping. That's right, they can take their own battery pack out, swap it out with zero downtime. Their job is for crowd control, inspections, logistics, guiding travelers, surveillance, and government-level enforcement. This is only one of many rollouts because China is expanding on what they call embodied AI across factories, public places, and even security. These robots don't tire, they don't question orders, and they do not have a conscience. Experts are even warning that this is the foundation of an AI-run enforcement system to replace human oversight. I want to give you relevant Christian news, not to scare you or put fear in you, but to warn you and to give an awareness of what is happening in the world today. If you feel the same way, Please share this so the world can be informed of what is truly happening.
That sounds about right. China is definitely not slowing down on technology. If anything, they're ramping it up like as quickly as possible, as the world watches and examines how it all works out for them.
Carl Jung said that your 20s are just a performance. Your actual life begins at 40. See, Jung called the first decades of your life as preparation, when the individual builds an identity. They establish a place in the world, and they gather the experiences that will later serve as the foundations for deeper development. Through work, relationships, a person learns to shape their own persona, the social mass that allows to function in a collective life. Jung viewed this stage as essential for adaptation, since it teaches discipline, cooperation. Around the middle of your life, he observed a natural psychological shift. The outward tasks of life give way to more of an inward movement. This movement initiates the process he calls individuation, through which a person seeks integration rather than an expansion. The psyche begins to turn into the inner world, drawing attention to the parts of the self that had been ignored or repressed, undervalued during those times in your 20s. Jung considered this a vital step in your human development, the beginning of a new and more conscious phase of existence. Individuation involves acknowledging the shadow, the hidden or unaccepted elements of your character. These elements are not to be condemned or eliminated from yourself, but recognized as belonging to the whole. Jung believed that the acceptance of the shadow brought psychological balance and moral strength. During this stage, many people begin to reorder their own values. Their attention moves towards meaning, authenticity, and more of an inner life. Emotional responses become more measured. Your thought becomes more reflective. Jung suggested that this transformation allows the individual to live with a sense of coherence that was not possible in the earlier years of your 20s. In the later writings of his career, Jung described midlife as the threshold of a true life. He believed that the search for wholeness becomes the central work of your psyche, a task that cannot be imposed by society. The process to Jung is lifelong. It requires patience, attention, and honesty from yourself.
So everyone knows Rosa Parks, right?
Yep.
Well, no one really talks about what happened to her when she was like 81 years old.
What happened to her?
So she was assaulted and mugged in her own house.
What?
Yeah, so on August 30th, 1994, she was in her house, right? And she would hear her back door just come down. It was this guy named Joseph Skipper.
What?
And he would tell her, I was chasing off an intruder. And he asked her for like a $3 tip. And she was like, okay. So she went upstairs and she went to get her wallet. And Joseph would follow her upstairs, right? And then he would demand more money. And then that's when Rosa Parks would tell him, no, I'm just going to give you what I agreed to.
Yeah.
And then he would hit her in the face and then shake her down for more money. She would fight back. She was 81 years old. She was still fighting back, right?
No way.
But he would hit her again and grab onto her and tell her, I won't hurt you even more if you don't give me all your money. So she gave in and she gave him all her money, which was like $103, really.
Bro.
All this for $100.
That's crazy.
So he would take the money and leave. Rosa Parks, she would go and call for her friend who lives across the street, and they would call police, and the police would get there like in an hour. This story would get huge media attention because, you know, it's Rosa Parks. And the guy, he would eventually get caught. He would have to be sent out of state because of, you know, he did this to Rosa Parks, bro. He's going to have everybody mad at him. So silver lining of this story is the Little Caesars founder, Mike Ilitch, who is also from Detroit where where this happened. So he wanted to give back to her. So he would move her up to like these luxury apartments and pay her rent every month.
Wow.
For the next like 10 years, all the way until she passed away.
Wow, that's beautiful.
The less you eat, the less you move, the less activity, the longer you live. The guys that run the marathons, you think the guys that work out stay healthy? No. We die the most because we're pushing ourselves. And the harder you work, the more your cells die.
Hold on. Are we all being distracted from a global financial crash right now? Now, there's a few weird sequence of events, starting with this. The founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, has started his own academy to get people ready for the intelligence age.
The tremendous changes which will be caused by the transformation from the industrial to the intelligent age. The intelligent age is based on a combination of many life-changing.
And if you guys have no idea about the World Economic Forum, it is a non-profit organization collective filled with globalists and elites that make decisions on your behalf. Now, earlier this year, he stepped down from his position from the World Economic Forum. Now we see why to start this academy to get people prepared. which is pretty weird. But it gets even weirder. You guys, they are dropping more signs yet again, because why did the Timberwolves post this picture of Anthony Edwards and Rod Dillingham going to a game, and what is he wearing? Let's take a look. Yeah, it says 2008 global financial crisis. What? Now the question is, why would he wear this when he was only 3 years old when this crash happened? And if you guys know anything about the 2008 crash, in which was the greatest crash since the Great Depression, wiped out over $2 trillion globally, which was predicted by Michael Burry 3 years before the crash in 2005. Which is a nice coincidence that he was wearing this hoodie and he was born the same year in 2005 when the market crash was predicted. Interesting. Not to mention the brand new standard for all banks globally, ISO 222, just passed November 22nd, but nobody knew this. In short, this standard is for cross-border payments globally, implementing blockchain, crypto, etc. So my prediction is we're gonna see a big run-up, then a crash, or a crash, then a run-up, but something's about to happen. Now, if all that isn't weird enough for you, you guys, that deadline date is the same date as JFK's assassination, November 22nd, in which he was trying to change the financial system as well. So there's that. Make sure you guys go to my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, but let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
Now, when it comes to the financial system, it's really not hard to just be able to look at all the data and statistics and know that it's not looking good. There isn't any kind of bailout that's going to be able to fix this situation. And inflation, all-time high. So something has to give. And hopefully everybody's got their ducks in a row, because history generally repeats itself, or most like to say it rhymes.
We discovered a new color. Scientists have discovered a new color called Olo. For the people that don't know what I'm talking about, let me update you. So this color kind of looks like turquoise. It looks very, very close to turquoise. Usually when you see color, you're stimulating all of your M cones in your eye. This is what I've just learned. But with this color, they're literally only stimulating one M cone in your eye so you can see the Olo color. Why they call it Olo, I don't know. There's like a whole bunch of other fucking names out there, but Olo is what they landed on. It's honestly, it's a pretty color. I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like there's a lot of other shit that we should be doing first other than making some colors. You know, cancer, that's still out there. That's still a big thing. I kind of feel like discovering a new color isn't really that big of a deal compared to finding a cure for cancer. You know, not saying that it's not important that we stimulated something else in our brain with a color, but I just feel like we could be putting our efforts into something bigger. But as usual, if there's anything else that comes out about this, I'll be sure to let you know. Just drop a comment that you want more videos like this, and also follow me.
Why don't I ever see pictures of disabled people in history? They were locking them up. Until 1974, there were laws in America that banned people who were considered ugly from going out in public. If you had something as simple as a scar or a limp, you could be ticketed or even sent to prison. The first ugly law was introduced in 1861 in San Francisco, California. The law was introduced in attempts to clean up the streets by targeting the homeless population. A lot of these people targeted were people with visible disabilities, whether they were born with them or whether they were disabled because of illness or war. Over the next several decades, these laws spread like a wildfire around the country, and these laws were enforced. So if you were seen outside with a visible disability, you were either fined, sent to a jail, or transferred to a work farm. It wasn't until 1974 that the ugly laws were eradicated. Chicago was the last place to repeal these laws and make the final arrest. So if you've ever wondered to yourself, why don't I ever see pictures of disabled people in history? They were locking them up. Did you know about the ugly laws? Because it sounds too crazy to believe, but it actually really happens. And if you like learning facts like this, make sure you like and follow to support. And until next time, my name is Aubrey Smalls. This is Dwarfism History. I love you. Keep going.
Hey, now locking somebody up because they're ugly or disabled, that's pretty diabolical. But back in the days, 10, 20, 50 years ago, things were pretty diabolical.
See on his desk, Amazon.com, but what's even more interesting, you have the number 33. Like the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. 33 is the number of death and rebirth, hence why it's in the triangle. The upright triangle is fire. Fire burns things down into its raw form. Then it can be transformed. So this is what the number 33 truly represents in the occult. It represents transforming yourself by destroying your old self to then to be spiritually reborn. It's all hidden in plain sight.
What the fuck is that? Bro, what the hell? Speaking of it, I'm literally watching the live stream of NASA. What the hell is that? What? What? That is so weird.
Atoms are mind-bogglingly tiny, and it's nearly impossible to wrap your brain around their scale, but I dare you to try. Back in 2013, IBM made the world's smallest animation using literal atoms, but let's first get an idea of exactly how small they are. Okay, go like this. For scale, the side profile thickness of your finger is about a centimeter, for all the people out there still using the imperial measurement system for some reason. Unless you got some big-ass fingers, then tough luck or use something else. Let's start with a Cheerio, measuring about half a centimeter in height. Zooming into a grain of salt, about 0.3 millimeters, and there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter. Scaling down to a bacteria between 1 to 10 micrometers, and there's 10,000 micrometers in a centimeter. Here we got a virus at around 20 to 300 nanometers, and there's 10 million nanometers in a centimeter. Side note, the difference between bacteria and a virus are that bacteria are free-living cells that can live outside the body, while viruses are a collection of molecules that need a host to survive. Now we're right down to a strand of DNA with a diameter of about 2 nanometers. You still following that finger scale? Finally, we got the atom, which is anywhere between 0.5 to 5 angstroms, and there's 100 million angstroms in a centimeter. This model isn't even accurate. If we brought it to scale, we wouldn't even be able to see the neutrons and protons in the center. Same with the electrons, and they're even smaller. When we fit everything to scale, we find out that an atom is actually 99.9999999% empty space. What? With the volume of the nucleus, that's the protons and neutrons in the center, being 1 quadrillion times smaller than the entire atom. So everything, all matter in the universe, including the phone in your hand and even you, is mostly empty space.
Meta isn't just allowing scam ads on your feed. A brand new report from Reuters just revealed they're making billions from them on purpose. According to leaked internal documents, Meta projected it would make $16 billion late last year from scam ads. They knew who the scammers are, but instead of banning them, Meta created a system to penalize scammers by charging them higher ad rates. The documents show Meta's own ad system then targets these scams to the users most likely to click on them. It's a feedback loop of fraud designed for profit. Their own internal estimates show their platforms show users 15 billion of these high-risk scam ads every single day.
Tell me this is normal. 2 objects, 3-eye Atlas and R2 Swan, both showing the same rare sunward-facing tail, both glowing green, both acting weird, and right now they're sitting on the opposite sides of Earth like a cosmic trap. R2 Swan didn't even get detected until perihelion. That's crazy. And then it suddenly brightens, breaks apart, and grows a tail that looks just like Atlas. Call them rocks. Yeah, they're just rocks if you want. But 2 rocks doing the same thing at the exact same time, perfectly aligned across Earth, that hits different.
Prosthetics, it's a light, sort of very light latex, which is a false lid. I hate them. They're actually, they're quite comfortable. And the great thing about them, no acting required once you've got those on. You just stand there and it all happens. Slip into the room. Yeah.
So my girl Erykah Badu was wearing some see-through raincoat pants. Just like Buster, she's making a statement.
Nah, with Erykah Badu, we gonna let her, we could let that slide, because that's Erykah Badu.
Turned out to a robot that's setting a new Guinness World Record for longest distance walked by a humanoid machine. So Chinese robotics company Agibot says that its droid named A2 walked more than 66 miles over the course of 3 days in China. Video released by the company shows A2 crossing urban and rural areas in Shanghai without shutting down. The droid is over 5 feet tall and weighs over 150 pounds.
All right, the U.S. government just announced the Genesis mission, and this could completely change scientific research forever. The scale of this project is absolutely insane. They're combining the world's largest collection of scientific data with frontier AI models to accelerate discoveries in energy, health, and national security. Check this out.
In every age, humanity invents new ways to see further. The telescope let us glimpse the stars. The microscope revealed the worlds within us. For centuries, thinkers like Leibniz, Shannon, and Turing dreamed of making all knowledge computable. But today, knowledge grows faster than our ability to understand it. Trillions of data points, a universe of information still unconnected. Now, a new instrument emerges, one capable not only of observing the universe, but of understanding it. Genesis mission will transform how science is done in America, uniting our brightest minds, most powerful computers, and vast scientific data into one living system for discovery. Built on artificial intelligence and quantum computing, it will radically redefine the scale, speed, and purpose of scientific progress in America. This is the work that will define our generation's legacy. A new revolution begins, one guided not by competition alone, but by curiosity, imagination, and the belief that discovery is the truest form of progress.
This is basically the Manhattan Project for AI. The Department of Energy is leading it, partnering with companies like Anthropic to build a massive platform that gives AI access to decades of government research data. We're talking nuclear weapons research, medical records, quantum computing, everything.
Hey Mom, what's the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery?
So a graveyard is connected to a church, like this one. So this is considered a graveyard. A cemetery is not connected to a church.
You a mind-blowing statistic. 100% of people who did not quit make it.
The words that are about to come out of my mouth, I'm not even surprised they're about to come out of my mouth, but it was only a matter of time before dragons entered the conversation. Yeah, you heard me correctly, dragons. Now you're telling me that an alleged dragon skull and skeleton has been dug up in Romania. And I'm going to tell you, I've seen the video that's circling the internet, and it does in fact look like what I would imagine a dragon skull would look like. But I'm not here to tell you to believe in dragons. That's up to you to make your own mind up about that. But this video shows a guy in a hole with a dragon skull. Now, that got me wanting to jump down the rabbit hole, because you guys know I love jumping down a good rabbit hole. And it made me start thinking, the dragon is the only animal that's allegedly mythological on the zodiac chart, yet all the other animals do exist. How do we explain that? Also, the Bible even refers to dragons. So how do we explain that? And Chinese history says that they use dragon bones for medicine. How do we prove that? How do we explain that? So I want to know if you've heard this, if you've seen the video, what are your thoughts and beliefs on dragons? Because I guess now dragons are showing up. But let's have this conversation tonight, because I love all things mythological. And remember, whatever we talk about is for fun, entertainment, conversation, and learning purposes only. So let's have this conversation tonight.
Petrified dragon found in Romania.
Bă, tu dai seama, bă? Aia când a fost sfârșitul lumii. L-a făcut piatră. Pe cal, fii atent. Dumnezeu. Dar chiar e calm, fii atent. L-a petrificat. Să vadă în lumea ce-am găsit noi în fundul fântânii. Dacă îl scoatem imediat afară.
Now, me personally, I definitely believe there were mythical creatures at a certain point in time in history, but that specifically, I mean, why didn't he just get that? Why didn't they throw him an iPhone just so we can get it up close and personal? Like, this is the kind of ignorance I'm talking about. So just for that, I'm going to have to go ahead and call cap. But definitely drop me your opinion in the comments.
Ladies, show everyone how you smile.
Scientists just discovered a powerful way to lower pain by matching music to your body's movement. And no, this wasn't wishful thinking. They found important brainwave changes when the mind and the body were in sync with the music. In a recent study, scientists already knew that both music and movement helps lower pain. But the big question was that they didn't understand why and whether if being in sync with the music itself was important at all. So they set up this experiment where participants got this small pain stimuli while listening to percussion music. And they tested different scenarios where participants would only listen to the music or drum in sync, out of sync, or totally mismatched with the original music. While listening only or drumming out of sync helped just a little bit, the biggest pain reductions came when participants both listened and drummed to the music while in sync. And this is because the in-sync movement lowered a key brainwave called the N2 component, which is connected to how your brain feels pain. And this synchrony works because your brain likes predictability. When your actions matches the beat, the brain feels like everything is lining up, reducing conflict, stress, and also, when you get into this groove, you naturally activate the body's reward system, where reward and pleasure lowers pain, in addition to being in a flow state, where you have less attention on yourself and more focus on the activity. And what's interesting is that out-of-sync movement does the exact opposite, creating more sensory conflict, more cognitive effort, which means you feeling more pain. Key takeaway here is synchronizing your body with rhythm by dancing or playing music can lower pain in brain-based ways.
Most people will never be able to zoom into the sun this close because it costs about a $40,000 setup with the lenses and fancy camera. This is not AI, this is the sun. Now, some will call it solar flares. All I know is this thing looks like a freaking organism. And if they're lying about the moon landing, if they're lying about space, if they're lying about the nature of our reality, then you can also imagine we may have been lied to about the sun. This is footage of the sun with a whole bunch of basically sunglasses on the freaking lens of the camera to be able to see it in detail. A ball of gas and fire, I'm not sure. It actually looks like a molecule or some type of organism with a microscope. And I don't think that this is 93 million miles away either. That is almost 100% guaranteed a complete lie. Now, the other thing is, if the Earth has its own consciousness, some people call it Gaia or Mother Earth, it has its own consciousness, microcosm to macrocosm, then would it make sense that the sun is an inanimate object, or that it too is sentient and some form or another living? Because crystals, Nikola Tesla said, are also living. We just don't understand them. I wonder. All I know is a ball of fire, I don't know, maybe it's pure light, perhaps it's a portal. Remember, you got to unlearn all the things you think you learned. Look at this frickin' thing, man. That's the sun.
I think the sun was put in place just to play its part. Just like the mountains, like the birds, the bees, the clouds. Everything is just here playing its part. Whether it has a consciousness or not, I'm not quite convinced of that, but definitely I believe it's here just to play its part at the very least,
We are watching the world go absolutely nuts. A man from Toronto that was caught speeding on the highway had a suspended license since 1985. A man in Connecticut just won the lottery for a second time this year. He won $100,000 the first time and then just recently won $1 million. Researchers are now saying that ChatGPT can also get brain rot from scrolling junk content online, just like humans. Indonesian names are now legally limited to only 60 characters in length. Parents of teenagers all over the country right now are saying that getting a landline is revolutionary for delaying the smartphone. That way they can just talk to their friends in the kitchen. People are using AI to talk to God. There is a couple who was married less than a year ago and are now asking for a divorce from the court because their dog and cat cannot get along. A woman in London was stopped by 3 enforcement officers after pouring coffee down a drain next to a bus stop, and she was fined 150 pounds.
So whoever invented the first clock, how you know what time it was?
Stop the cap, man. You know that's a good question now.
Fun fact of the day. The earliest known use of the phrase Black Friday to refer to the day after Thanksgiving is from 1951, when it referred to large numbers of factory workers calling in sick to get a 4-day weekend.
I just found out something extremely disturbing from one of Beyonce's songs called Alien Superstar. Now the intro of this song is actually a sample, but just listen to what it says. It says, "Please, do not be alarmed. Remain calm. Do not attempt to leave the dance floor. The DJ booth is conducting a troubleshoot test of the entire system. Somehow, while the party was in progress, an unidentified frequency has been existing in the system for some time. And while many of you have been made too brainwashed to comprehend, this frequency is and has become a threat to our society as we know it. This frequency has been used by a secret society in conjunction with Lucifer to lure and prey on innocent partygoers with hypnotism, synchroprism, tricknology, lies, scandal, and pornography. While the party is still in progress, we will keep you updated on our current status." This is where it gets even more weird. Beyonce actually uses hypnosis in her concerts. I mean, look at this one in particular. Her fans were looking at this visual for over a minute with frequencies playing, and then they were flashed words like, "Whoever controls the media controls the mind control." I mean, and then this concert showed a portal with legs spread around it. She's literally telling us in her music and in her concerts.
I just stepped on this strange looking fish.
Are you kidding me right now? There is zero chance you stepped on that thing. That right there is stonefish, literally the most venomous fish in the world. 13 dorsal spines each contain 5 different extremely toxic venoms. The toxins basically open up all the sodium channels all at once on all your pain nerves, which means every single pain nerve you have is activated to the absolute max. That means the pain will be so extreme it will push you into shock and maybe even cardiovascular collapse. No chance you can be acting that cool after stepping on it.
So basically the doctor's telling him to stop the cap. Boy, you would have been stalled all the way out if you stepped on one, alright?
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit, bro.
Guy is blowing air under a frozen lake. And as weird as it looks, there's a really important reason for it. When a lake stays frozen for too long, oxygen levels in the water drop, and the fish start getting weak and less active. If nothing's done, it can lead to something called winter kill. When fish die in large numbers from lack of oxygen during winter, by pumping air into the water, he helps restore oxygen levels, and keeps the fish alive until the ice melts.
Well, it's a cold world, literally. Well, you guys say that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by it again and watching another one with me. If you haven't already, make sure to smash the like and subscribe button, man, and I will catch you on the next one.